Well, it looks like Christmas came early for Republicans because the Democrats' so-called 2028 frontrunner just handed them a gift with a bow on it. California Governor Gavin Newsom now proudly admitting that his state gives free health care to illegal immigrants.
As it relates to undocked health care, yeah, I'm proud of that because I believe in universal health care. You know, others may say it. I did it. We failed on the border. We need to own up to that. Largest border crossing in the Western Hemisphere in my state. Spent $1 billion+ to do migrant centers, try to put a lid on things. And it was quite critical, but I tried to do it in a respectful way of the Biden administration. We failed on the border.
And over in Minnesota, as the state gets rocked by a $1 billion Somali fraud scandal, Governor Tim Walz holding a news conference earlier where he lashed out at President Trump. You got to watch this.
We are a state that chooses not to let people go hungry or homeless or uneducated. However, that generosity has been taken advantage of by an organized group of fraudsters and criminals. Donald Trump brought this to the attention like this is something brand new. This is not brand new, and it's been being worked on, but he made it white hot and very dangerous.
All righty, Miss Jessica, I'm wondering if Democratic leaders are openly proud of providing taxpayer-funded health care to illegal immigrants, like what do you say to the voters out there who are struggling with their own care? I think I just read something like ambulance care in California is going up 382%.
Well, that's a pretty exact number if you were just casually reading it. I love the specificity. So my understanding of the program that Gavin Newsom is talking about is that it's not free healthcare for illegals. They can buy into the healthcare system and they have income requirements like U.S. citizens would. And the truth is that every state in America gives healthcare to illegals. It's just whether you do it in an emergency room or whether they have an insurance. And when you go to an emergency, well, it is true. Anyone can show up in an emergency room and they're going to get treated. It's just going to cost you a lot more. And there are tons of studies.
Cost who?
The country, the state,
exactly.
the country. Yeah, but that's not what Gavin Newsom is saying. The people that he's talking about actually have insurance that they pay for, like you or I do. They're just undocumented. And if you think that it's going to be some huge own in the primary, like to fund the police to say that you believe in universal health care, sorely mistaken. If you talk to Republican voters even, or at least moderate Republican voters, and said, do you think it would be a better situation if people who were here actually had insurance so they weren't just walking into an emergency room with a limb hanging off, and then you have to pay for the totality of that, they would probably err on the side of having insurance.
Jesse, I see you making a lot of faces, so I'm just wondering.
No, I was trying not to make faces.
It didn't work.
No, but she's wrong on the facts. You know, you are right that in the primary this is a winner. But in the general, you get slaughtered because 62% of the American people do not want health care for illegal aliens. 71% of independents do not want health care for illegal aliens for so many reasons. One, financially, it's ridiculous. Also, ethically, you can't say for people that are struggling to pay their own health insurance that you have to pay for a foreigner's health insurance. Also, it's corrupt. Because what are you doing? You're just shoveling money to rich insurance companies. And it's illogical because what you're doing is incentivizing foreigners to come here and get free stuff. Gavin will argue that it's compassionate, but it's not compassionate to the American people. It's actually disrespectful to the American people. You look at this guy, the only thing he has going for him is he looks presidential. Other than that, it's terrible. If you want to hire an actor, go ahead. I mean, Reagan was an actor, but at least he had vision. Every time this guy opens his mouth, he looks like he's trying to wiggle out of trouble. And I know that because I spent my whole life wiggling out of trouble.
So true. Okay, on that note, Greg, you know, I'm just wondering also, so many people are leaving California. A lot of high earners are leaving California. You got celebrities who are leaving California, like Joe Rogan, he moved to Texas. Elon Musk, he moved his company to Texas. Mark Wahlberg moved to Nevada. Sly Stallone, Florida. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems to be a trend. But I got to tell you, I love this tweet from Ezra Klein. Did you see this thing? Can you put it up there? All right, the first two sentences. Trump often lies about Democrats giving health care to undocumented immigrants. Newsom actually did it. So wait, he often lies, but Newsom actually did what Trump said he did. That's like saying, I didn't rob the bank as I told the security guard in the bank that I shot. It's like, it's such an interesting shift. It used to be a lie, but now we admit it because it's a good thing. You're talking in California alone, covering 2 million illegals with full services comes to $10 billion annually. That's what Newsom wants. It sounds like free health care. It isn't, because Californians will pay for it, which will cause people to leave. You know, it's good that he admits that the border failed. They failed the border. But he should be happy Trump's president right now, because you can't have free health care and an open border. Your state will implode. You got to pick one guy, and then maybe people will treat you like an adult. Tim Walz, can we just point out, he is the poster child for deliberate incompetence. They installed this buffoon so everybody gets a piece of the action. It's the Biden presidency scaled down to Minneapolis. I'm just glad that Mary Tyler Moore is not around to see what has happened to Minneapolis. She would never throw her hat in the air. It would either get stolen or shot.
Ooh, Charlie, Governor Walz, obviously, what's $1 billion just disappeared in the middle of the air, right? But he's still welcoming more immigrants to his,
And I think it's important to recognize that a lot of the malfeasance that is being uncovered in Minneapolis is being committed by illegals. I think it's really amazing that Democrats are even claiming that this is sort of trying to claim that this is not something that they support, giving free health care to illegals. Back during the primary in 2020, they were asked to raise their hands. Every single person on the stage raised their hands to say they support giving free health care to illegal aliens. I bet that poll you mentioned, about 62 or 68%, I bet it's even higher than that, of people who do not want to give, who don't want to write a check every week paying for free health care for illegals. And this issue of illegal immigration is so important because it's not just spending on things like health care. You talk about housing. Housing is expensive. Well, one reason housing is so expensive is because we're housing millions of illegals. And by the way, not only does that drive up the price of housing, but taxpayers were paying for it. You want to talk about welfare reform or inflation? When you have a COVID bill that we passed costing $2 trillion, and you want to find the culprit for inflation during the Biden years, things like that are what caused that. And then you get stories out of places like Minneapolis where you have just like dizzying corruption, where they stole welfare and for their own benefit. I think that this winds up remains a very potent issue.
Does it not matter, though, that this is about getting health insurance that they can actually pay for?
I think that
that's what this is
the
in
solution to it is to remove illegal aliens from the country. And President Trump is doing that. And will he get credit for it? I don't know. Most politicians don't solve problems because they don't like when you solve a problem, you can't raise money and campaign on that problem. Donald Trump doesn't care about that. He actually wants to solve the problem, and he is.
Well, there was a bipartisan.
There's nothing bipartisan about what Donald Trump has done to solve the problem of illegal
there
immigration.
was a bipartisan immigration bill, and he called up Republicans and said, I don't want this because I want to run
It allowed the illegal immigration to continue at the rate that it was.
Noted lib James Lankford that wrote that bill.
It was a stupid bill, and look what he did without even using legislation. Didn't need it.
What a beauty.
In your face.
All right, everybody cut it out now.